Hi, I'm Steffanie Rivers, and I want justice for Breonna Taylor because the police officers involved showed reckless disregard for her life and the lives of her neighbors.
Her. So you're saying she essentially died on the floor right there?
Second that she got shot, she was.
Family, did the city of Birmingham, did anybody say, did the church, did anybody say there's more to?
Hello, family, and welcome to the video version of my journal. I'm Steffanie Rivers. Come on in, kings and queens, and welcome to the conversation. We are multicasting on various platforms. You might be watching us on YouTube or Facebook Live, LinkedIn, or Twitter. Wherever you find us, we want to welcome you to the conversation. And if you are one of my new subscribers, my newest subscriber is his YouTube name is Bumpy Johnson. Welcome to the subscriber team. And if you are returning, welcome back. And if you find something that you like, I want you to like it and share it and then subscribe. So the next time that I post new videos, you'll be the first to know. So today we're doing a follow-up on the shooting death of Walter Hutchins. He was shot and killed by bounty hunters in Houston last month. And that has left a lot of people with questions about what bounty hunters are allowed to do in the process of doing their job and what they are not allowed to do. So in case you are not familiar with the story, Hutchins was, I'll show you a picture of Walter Hutchins, 31 years old. He was shot and killed by bounty hunters after they cornered him in a parking lot. The bounty hunters told cops that after the shooting, they told the cops that Hutchins attempted to shoot them first and before they opened fire on him. But there's video of the incident that doesn't support their claims. And so we'll show that video later on in the show. So stick around. But these bounty hunters were hired by a local Houston bail bond company, and our condolences do go out to the Hutchins family. He was a father of an infant and a son, of course, and a brother. And so a lot of us have been in a situation where we have family members who are in a position where they need a bail bondsman. And so one of our guests today is a bail bondsman with over 30 years of experience in the bail bonds community in Fort Worth, Texas. And he's here to share his expert opinion, what he expects of clients who need his services, and standard operating procedures when he hires bounty hunters to find those clients. Now, his name is Gregston Campbell of Campbell and Son Bail Bonds of Fort Worth, Texas. And we also have Ms. Terena Hodge. She's a private investigator. And when she's hired by bail bondsman or an attorney, they're trying to build their legal case maybe against a client. But sometimes that work includes her tracking down bail jumpers. And so we want to welcome Mr. Hodge and Miss Hodge and Mr. Campbell to the show. So welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steffanie. It's a pleasure to be here.
Right. Glad to be here.
And we appreciate you taking out the time to talk to us. Both of you have a combined experience of more than 45 years in the criminal justice field. So we want to talk to you and get your perspective as an African American working on the inside. So, feel free to jump in with any of the questions for answers to any of the questions. But I wanted to start with you, Mr. Campbell. What made you want to start your company, Campbell and Son Bail Bonds in Fort Worth? What was it that made you want to get into this line of work?
Well, thank you, Steffanie. I was born and raised on the west side of Fort Worth. And of course, being a predominantly Black community, there were a lot of injustices that were going on in this bail bond industry. There were folk that were just posing to be bondsmen and charging the community up to 100% for the bond, which was against the law. But because of the ignorance of the people, and what I'm saying is just they were not knowledgeable of how the industry worked, I felt it was a need to get involved just to help some of the people in our community. So I was blessed with the opportunity to get my license, and it was kind of ironic when I did, and I started being able to help some of the community. They were asking me, well, you're charging me this, when are you going to come back and get the rest of your money? And I would tell them, well, there's no more money to be paid. And they would say, well, you just don't know the business. You're supposed to collect all your money. But that's just kind of the cloud that went on in our community of the fees of bail bonds. So basically what I'm saying, I got into the industry because I wanted to help out the people of this Como community.
Well, and you know what? We'll talk more about the procedures and what a person who needs a bond has to pay. But Ms. Hodge, you have been a private investigator for for more than 15 years. And I know that unlike Mr. Campbell's, his business is 24/7. Yours is more flexible. Is that what attracted you to the to want to be a private investigator?
Well, initially, I started out as a paralegal, so I've been a paralegal for like a little over 20 years, and then
Okay.
to add to my income, I became a private investigator and a process server. And like Mr. Campbell, I wanted to be able to help the community where, as attorneys could hire me, an African American female investigator, that would be fair to the people that I was tracking down or investigating, opposed to we both know that it's different for African Americans when they're being investigated to the others. So sometimes I work a lot for defense attorneys, and we want to get to the bottom of cases, and I want to be able to be that person to prove that person innocent. So I work more with defense attorneys to prove people who are really adamant about being innocent, and I wanted to be able to help them prove that. So that's kind of why I got into the business, kind of like Mr. Campbell, but just on a different spectrum.
So I saw on your website, and I'm going to try to bring it up momentarily, that you had an endorsement from a David Mann, who is an actor and comedian, and to gospel artist Tamala Mann. So why do most people, you work with attorneys and bail bonds people, why would an everyday person need your help as a private investigator? Why do some people hire you?
Right. And let me just make one correction. I actually had an endorsement of David Mann Jr., his son.
Oh,
Although
okay.
David
Okay.
Mann
their
Sr. and
son.
I,
Okay.
right, we went to school together. And so,
Okay.
his son endorsed me as far as, because he knows my work. But an everyday person will hire me sometime for a missing person. So they have a loved one that has gone missing. Then they'll hire me to help look for that person. Or it's infidelity for it. They may be married or in a relationship. They want to know if that person's cheating or they're going through a divorce, and they need to find out information. Or sometimes it's just background checks with employers. So it's various reasons, for if they're selling their renting their house and they want to know if this person checks out or whatever. So there's a lot of reasons that a person would hire a private investigator to find out what's going on in their life, personal life, business life, or whatever. And just like Mr. Campbell, of course, bail bondsmen hire me to sometimes track down people who have not showed up for court that they need to find. We call them bail jumpers. So that's another reason why, I'm hired as a private investigator.
Okay, well, when I saw the let me get out of this. I was trying to share my screen, and I will momentarily. But when I saw the video of the incident where Walter Hutchins lost his life, it didn't. I felt, and then after that, according to Houston area law and law enforcement, they said, well, the bounty hunter said that he shot at them or attempted to shoot at them, and that's why they ended up shooting him. But the video that was shown doesn't support that. Have you guys seen that video that I'm referring to?
Yes, I've seen the video, and there is no indication in that video that the guy pulled the gun, but there is an indication that you pulled up to a guy in the middle of the night in a community that has a history of violence, and then you want him to just stand there and not assume that he's being robbed. So I didn't see any indication that he was pulling a weapon or attempted to do any harm to the bounty hunters.
All right, well, I'm going to try to show the video so we can just, dissect it a little bit. And before I show the video, once we, go over that, then we'll talk about the standard procedures that how you feel like it should have gone, because Ms. Hodge, some of your work puts you in a position where you are acting as a bounty hunter. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay. And then Mr. Campbell, we'll just talk to you about what you expect from bounty hunters that you have to hire, because unfortunately at some point you have to hire bounty hunters to track down the clients that don't live up to the agreement that was set, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so what I want to do is, before we show this, where the video was made public on the an Instagram account of Jay Prince, and Jay Prince is a well-known music producer in Houston,
right.
And so we're sharing the video through the Freedom of Information Act of 1976 that says we can show the video for the purpose of research and teaching and critiquing. So let me go see. Okay, so we got that up, and I want to be able to show you the whole screen. So we'll watch that and then come back and talk about it. So I'm playing it without the audio.
Okay.
Okay, and then once it finishes, it's a minute long. I'll play it a second time just so we can, and then you guys can comment on it if you like. It's 45 seconds in. We'll play it, and then I'll play it again, and then you guys can comment on top of it if you like.
Okay.
Okay, so we're going to start it again. It's going to start out with Walter Hutchins walking to the vehicle, and then the bounty hunters roll up on him. So in your opinion, like what is as you as a bounty hunter, Miss Hodge, do you normally do it like this? Do you call police when you know the person is?
If I know it's a violent offender, I always call police as backup because they're more qualified to effect the arrest than I am. And first of all, just on this video, I would have probably approached him before he got in the car. They had ample time to approach him before he got in the car, opposed to waiting until he got in the car, then approached him, because it looked like they probably had been watching him for a while.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, news report said that the bounty hunters had sat in the car off to the side for hours
Yeah,
waiting
I
for
would
him
never
to.
let a suspect get to his car before apprehending him, because at that time you give him the opportunity, if he has a gun, to get to it, opposed to when he's walking out, you can clearly identify yourself as a bounty hunter, that you're working for a bond company, which you're required to do. And then that way there's no misunderstanding on why you're there.
So it doesn't, it just doesn't, it happened within seconds, 5, 6 seconds. Now they claimed, so I'm going to stop it and then come back. Now they claim that they told the cops that they were able to identify themselves, and and that he tried to shoot at them all within 5 seconds. It just seems not enough time for all of that.
That's correct. And I think here what we're dealing with is the white privilege that's been going on for a long time, until cameras, now we have cameras to really tell the truth, because like it was their story against his prior to cameras. And now, probably not even realizing or thinking the way they've been practicing has been wrong, that they would be caught by a camera and a video to show. Because I don't see anything in that video that indicates that this guy knew that they were bounty hunters and tried to do anything but get away from to his safety.
Right. Now, Mr. Campbell, when you hire a bounty hunter, what are your expectations of how they're supposed to proceed in apprehending a person?
Well, you're looking for professionalism. You're looking for someone who's going to abide by the law. There are some bounty hunters out there that they may not just follow the code of conduct, but you want somebody that is responsible, reliable, someone who is licensed and bonded. A lot of times you just have to weigh the character of the person that you want to hire, because you don't want any of their negative actions to feed back to the company that's hired them. So you want to weigh them out. You want to maybe look at their past history. And again, you want them to follow the letter of the law, because even if the person that we're looking for has jump bond or has a warrant, they still have their rights. And you want to make sure that whoever is out there looking for them will respect their rights and follow the letter of the law.
So now, how does a person come to need your services, Mr. Campbell? So they, end up in they go to jail. The judge sets a bail, or is it a bond, and they have to pay a certain amount of that to get released, to come back for their court date, but they don't have the money, and so then you are amongst a list of bondsmen that are able to assist them with getting released. Is that how it works?
That is correct.
Okay. So then what you said previously was some bail bondsmen charge a certain amount. So it's state regulated how much money a person can charge another person as a bond. Is that how it works?
Well, no, it's not state regulated. Again, the bond business is a competitive industry, and there may be a standard fee, but it's not the legislated. So there may be a situation where there's a person that's unknown to us that needs bail bonds help. we may charge them the standard fee across the industry, whatever it is at that time. When I went into the business 30 years ago, it was 20%. Now it's down to 10%. But you may want to charge them the standard 10%. But there's family members, church members, close friends that you may want to give a friendly consideration to, and not charge them that what you charge someone else. And it's all fair, because if it's your business, you're free to charge what you want to charge.
All right. So although I don't know, you might be more privy to the information surrounding the warrants that were out on Hutchins, but at some point, so let's say he didn't follow the procedures for what he was supposed to do. So when that happens, you ask the bounty hunter to go apprehend them, and they're supposed to be brought back because you, as the bond person, you are responsible for or on the hook for a certain amount of money. Like, how does that work?
Well, and you're absolutely right, Steffanie. The bond person, the bondsman, he is liable for the entire amount of the bond if the person does not show up for court. But let me preface this by saying it is not the bondsman that initiates the warrant all the time. Sometimes the judge of the court does it. Sometimes the court does it themselves for the person not following the bond conditions that's set up by the court. Sometimes the defendant himself causes the warrant to come out on him for not showing up for court, for fear, or just a neglect, or being misinformed. So there's many reasons why the defendant could have a warrant put out for him. I myself, I try to reach out to my clients personally to make sure they know and understand the importance of their court appearances. But if they willfully choose not to show up for court, a bondsman has the opportunity and the right to go out and hire a bounty hunter or in private investigative services like Ms. Hodge to see if we can locate that person and return them back to justice.
Right.
And so, Ms. Hodge, you said that when you are hired to in that capacity, has it ever gotten to a point, and I guess, it could get physical because people don't want to go to court, they don't want to be found, they want to run. Like, how would you have done things differently, where you said you would have called the police because they're more in a position to handle that that issue? So does that mean you, as a bond person, won't get paid because you didn't bring them in, and that's maybe why bounty hunter, you as a bounty hunter, so bounty hunters are more likely to say, no, I'm going to keep the cops out of this because I want to get paid? Is that?
No, I would still get paid whether I apprehend them or not. So the thing is it is up to the individual. I choose to call the police because I know they're more equipped to handle a violent offender or whatever. Being a female, I'm not out here trying to play cowboy with a guy or even some females. And so as long as I am assisting or whatever, I do what I can do to get that person back into custody, I'll still recover the fee. But there are some people out here who didn't make the police department, didn't make the sheriff department, who gets off on, playing cops. And that's just really what it is. You want to be the tough guy, so you want to go out and apprehend the person yourself. Myself, I prefer to let law enforcement handle it. And so I'm going to always call the police and let them know, hey, I've spotted this person and I know they're here. And if it's a valid warrant, they're going to come out because they have to. So why should I put myself in a position to get harmed or for liable when I can have the police to come out to do the same thing and I'm still going to get paid? It makes no sense.
Right. And, that was my question, because maybe they thought, oh, we're not going to, be paid if we don't bring him in. And so at this point, so What might, and I know the Houston law enforcement, they claim that they're still doing an investigation. How confident are both of you, either of you, in feeling that these bounty hunters will be charged with a crime, whether it be manslaughter or murder or something, uh, um, to be held accountable for how they went about this,
I
this.
fully expect them to be charged. I know Jay Prince, and I know the Houston residents are going to push really, really hard, and they're not going to give up until there's an arrest. And just looking at that video, it's going to be really tough for those guys to prove, according to the bounty hunter laws, because we're regulated through DPS, the Texas Department of Public Safety. You have to clearly and show that either by your uniform that you are a bounty hunter, and you have to show your ID and let that person know why you're there. So I think it's going to be really difficult for them to show that they address themselves as bounty hunters, or even show, because they had on dark clothing at night. This guy coming out, when I think the problem is going to be when that guy walked out of his apartment, they could have got him right then. They gave them enough time to be able to say who they were, but they waited until he got in the car. It's going to be really tough to prove that they identified themselves as bounty hunters. And then in the heat of the moment, can a person really hear you when they're walking out to their car late at night and you got 3 or 4 people in dark clothing with guns approaching you? I don't think they gave him a fair chance. And I just think it was flat out murder. And I fully expect them to be charged, because I don't think the residents of Houston is going to let it go.
Mr. Campbell, what are your thoughts on on any charges for these uh, bounty hunters?
Well, Steffanie and Ms. Hodge, I'm in somewhat agreement with Ms. Hodge. From the surface, it looks like total neglect and an act of wrong from those who are showing that they are a bounty hunter, or saying that they're a bounty hunter. I can't say that there would be a 100% at fault, because I'm sure there's more to the story than what we're seeing right now. But at surface, I'm in agreement with Ms. Hodge. It looks like those guys, those bounty hunters, acted over and beyond the degree of necessity to apprehend the person, and I think it's just going to be left up to the courts.
Well, and one of the articles, well, the law enforcement officer on the scene and some media, written media, said that the law enforcement agency in that area, I don't know if it was the police department or the sheriff's department, but they've already said basically, well, if we find that they did anything wrong, we're going to hand that information over to the DA and let the DA go, charge them. So it's kind of like what you said, Ms. Hodge. They're kind of like in it to, they don't want to be the agency to officially charge them, even though they clearly might find that they should be charged.
Yeah.
And so, what in the future can happen, or you think should happen, either of you, that will keep something like this from becoming a normal thing, where bounty hunters take it upon themselves to jump out and start shooting people when clearly, in my opinion, and according to the video, they lied. There was no indication. It was too quick. How in 5 seconds, with his back turned, you
Exactly.
pulling up to him. So what kind of changes do you think might happen or need to happen to keep this from happening to the next person,
Right.
just because they have a warrant?
First of all, let me say that's standard language there. We're going to turn it over to the DA. That's just because they don't want to make an arrest right now. But I will tell you, if that was some black bounty hunters arresting a white guy and they ambushed him like that, I think he'd have been arrested on the spot, or at least be arrested by now. And I do think there's different rules for us opposed to it is for white residents. And I think the only thing that can happen to make changes to this is it has to be strict rules on your attire. I don't think wearing all black late at night in some neighborhoods is a good idea when you're trying to apprehend a person on a bail jump, because the way I look at it is this person could be totally innocent. This guy has not been found guilty of anything. He's been arrested. So there's no solid anything to say that he's guilty of the crime that he's been arrested on. We don't know if the person, his bondsman or whoever, failed to give him his court date. We don't know why there was a warrant out for his arrest. So that's why we cannot issue a death sentence when we're looking for a person that's just wanted for jumping bail. We have to follow the rules. And I think maybe we need to, law enforcement need to be there to conduct these type of arrests.
So, I mean, how is it then? Because you feel like most of us feel, in that there are, there's the, what is it called? Rules de juris and rules, I can't remember the term, but the written rule says one thing, but the way they carry out the rule,
the way they operate
different.
is totally different.
How they operate. So how does that make you feel? Do you feel like you can change something by being a part of that system? Because you are trying to treat people right, but if only 1% of the people are trying to treat people right, and you got 99% not really caring, how do you go forth and go, with trying to make a difference?
The only thing I can do is make sure the guys and the women that I hire to work for me follow the rules and treat everybody with respect, or they can't work for me. I can do the best that I can do, and I can talk to the younger generation to get them more involved into this industry, because I think it's more African Americans need to be in this industry. And I'm not going to say that sometimes we're not the problem when it comes to adrenaline and these type of things. Sometimes the adrenaline is rushing, and again, people want to be police officers. People want to take the law into their own hands. I just have to put myself in a situation on how I would want someone to treat my family member, and and treat them that same way. I just feel really bad that this guy lost his life because someone decided to take his life based on fear. If you're scared and you're afraid, then don't try to do this, because a lot of it is fear. You should not be out here trying to do this if you're going to be afraid to do it the right way, that you feel like you got to pull the trigger too fast. I'm going to always make sure that I conduct myself with respect and professionalism and follow the rules that DPS set out, because I don't want to get the bondsman sued, and I don't want to be sued, because I have to respect the people who hired me, because that's business. That's how I feed my family. So if Mr. Campbell hired me to find somebody, I don't want to put him on the hook for a lawsuit because I decided to do something that was against the rules, or I got hot-headed, or I got mad because somebody said something. You can't take it personal. It's business, and you got to treat that person with respect. They haven't been found guilty. They have just been arrested for whatever reason. They have a warrant out, and it's not our business to try to figure out, what's going on with it. We're just supposed to bring them in, bring them back to the jail, and then let the courts decide on where they go from there.
And I agree with Ms. Hodge on that. I think her making her people responsible, as far as it has been explained in her surroundings. But I think for this case also, notoriety and exposure for what has been shown, what the results are going to be, what the punishment will be, it needs to go out to the whole bounty hunting industry. And I think if these bounty hunters are found guilty, and the penalty that's given them for their actions goes throughout the bounty hunting industry, but maybe the entire legal industry. Yes. Legislatures passed. I think that would deter a lot of these hotheads, willing to shoot, no question asked type people who are in that bounty hunting industry, because they would have to reflect on the results of what's going to happen to these people who shot this guy here.
Exactly. I agree.
So then, how is it? How hard or how easy is it to become a private investigator or a bail bondsman? Is there a test that you take, or you have to have a certain amount of years as an apprentice, in case there are people who want to get into the into that field?
Well, for a private investigator, you have to work for a company or under a company for at least 3 years before you can submit for your license. And at that time, and that's to submit for a company license. If you're submitting for an individual license, you have to work under a private investor company, such as myself. So I license individuals as private investigators. But when I first started out, I had to work under a licensed company, and I had to abide by those rules in order to eventually weigh my time out to start my own company. So and then once you have a company, there is a test you have to take. You have to take a state exam, and you have to pass that exam, and then you have to have insurance. We are insured, and if our insurance lapse, our license is suspended. So there's a lot of qualifications, and you're fingerprinted. You can't have anything that's against moral turpitude. So you can't have a criminal record, basically. And so you go through an extensive background check through the DPS, and then of course the 3 years experience, and then you have to take refresher courses every year, and then you could be audited at any time to make sure that your records reflect your continuing education.
And our
Okay.
responsibilities for training or to get into this occupation overlaps, just like with the what Ms. Hodge is saying. There is a 1 to 2 year of training up under a operating bail bondsman or an attorney before you can get into this business. They do an extensive criminal background check on you to make sure that you are above board. No crimes of moral turpitude, just a clean record. Um, there is a continuing education classes, just like Ms. Hodge was saying. So there are a lot of responsibilities that when I got into the business 30 years ago, it was difficult because of the record that you had to have, your presence in the community, of the accommodations or recommendations from people in the community who knew you. They even went back as far as for some former bosses or my Boy Scout leader from back in the days. So they do an extensive check on you to make sure that you are a morally upright person. And then they also check your financial stability to make sure that if things go sideways in your business, that you are financially capable of addressing any type of issues that may come about. So again, as Ms. Hodge was saying, it's not just walking up and signing on the dotted line saying I want to be in this occupation.
Right.
There are some stringent guidelines and rules that are invoked by legislature or just common government knowledge that you have to be abreast of before you can get into the industry.
Right.
So have you ever been sued, Mr. Campbell, for for things not going like it's supposed to go, and because I guess that is a real probability in your industry.
Well, that's kind of a two-part question. I have been sued, but it's because a person has not shown up for court. So you get what's called when a person goes on the run after so many days, the courts can sue you for the amount that you have pledged for their bond. But as being sued for personal or business misconduct, I am very proud to say that in my 30 years plus of business, I have never been sued by the courts for any misappropriate actions.
Right.
Okay, well, awesome. And that, speaks volumes, especially since you've been
Right.
in business so long. So I put up your K- uh, uh, Campbell and Sons bail bonds website, and then Miss Hodge, this is your website. So if someone wants to find you guys, you have a website and then a contact information. So is there anything else that you think we should know when it comes to um, th- your a line of work, and if somebody wants to get involved, are you taking on apprentices at this time, or do you work through certain colleges? Do you do public speaking? How can someone get to know you or find you if they are interested in knowing more about this line of work?
I'm always willing to help anyone who want to get into the business. I'm not necessarily going to say that I may license them, but I will assist them into trying to find someone who is hiring, or if I'm hiring at that time, or assist them into getting their company license. I don't mind. I don't normally don't charge anybody to do it. I'm willing to help anybody because I believe it's enough money out here for us all. I'm on every social media platform. Just my name is my profile, Terena Hodge, except for Instagram, it's Terena Rock, SROC. The Rock is Terena and then ROC. So, I have on my website, I believe my number, my email, and everything is on my website. But if you're looking for a private investigator, you can reach me at 817-688-1552. And I'm always happy to help.
All righty. And Mr. Campbell, are you taking on apprentices or working with any universities or anything?
Well, I cannot go as far as to say if I'm working with universities, but much like Ms. Hodge, this industry, there is a need for people to be involved in this. And much like Ms. Hodge, I am willing to help. I'm willing to assist. I'm willing to give guidance to someone who is interested in being in the industry. As I said earlier, I've been in business a little over 30 years. That means I'm kind of seasoning in life, and I can't do this forever. So if there is someone who is interested in the business, if I cannot directly help them, I will do my best to point them in the right way to go.
Right.
So is your son actually planning to take over the business at some point?
Well, that's interesting. I named the business after him, Campbell and Son, when he was 2 months old, having the idea that once he reached a age that he would have an interest in the business. He decided to go into sales, which he's very good. He's got the gift of gab, but he does not have an interest in the business. So I've got a grandson that's coming up. He's a freshman at Texas Tech, and he's showing some interest in the business. So maybe I will have that son title fulfill itself down
Yeah.
the road. But in the meantime, if someone would need me, if I could help someone, my phone number is it's kind of out there. Campbell and Son Bail Bonds, 817-737-BAIL, and that bail is spelled 2245. And I'd be glad to help or assist anyone that would need that assistance.
All right. Well, I'm certainly going to, I appreciate you guys taking time and giving us your expert opinion on that particular issue, and just explaining the process, because a lot of people, don't. And I guess it's just human nature. We don't think about things until we like right there, need it right now. And then you're like, okay, what do I do? I don't have the money the judge said I need, and I got to go to work tomorrow.
Right.
And so, it really helps to have it explained. So I will certainly keep in contact with you. And as we grow, you might, want to come back and explain something, another issue that's in the news. that where we can have your perspective, because a lot of times you look at media and they don't have anybody who looks like us
Not
or
at
has
all.
our perspective, that they consider. So I appreciate you again. And so we will keep in touch.
And thank you for the opportunity. We appreciate you as well for the opportunity to be here. It was nice talking to you.
Stephanie, thank you
You as
again. And
well.
Ms. Hodge, also, we appreciate the invitation. And if there's any way that we can help down the line, please give us a
Give us a
call.
call.
Greg
We'll be
Campbell,
willing.
737-2245.
And Ms. Hodge, you and I are going to probably talk again, because in a future show, we're going to have an attorney on and talk about her role in a new app called Our Tribe, and
Exactly.
how that's helping some people who get stopped on the side of the road, maybe a traffic stop, and they need immediate legal assistance, and or they need a on-call legal assistance to
Right.
help them to manage whatever situation they're in. So I thank you in advance for helping me to find the right attorney to speak with us on that as well.
Oh, no problem. You're very welcome. And again, thank you for the opportunity. It's been a pleasure. I enjoyed doing it.
All righty, so I will stay in touch. You guys have a great week ahead, and we'll see you next time.
All right. You have the same. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye. All righty, and thank you guys for being here. We appreciate you. So hopefully you learned something more about the process of bail bondsman, and what the do's and don'ts are, and what you should expect if somebody shows up to your place of business, or approaches you. Just know your rights and know how to diffuse the situation, de-escalate, because a lot of times, we expect for the other person to de-escalate, when it's also in our best interest to de-escalate, so we can live to tell the story and live to prove ourselves innocent. And so that's what it's all about. So to find out more about the things that I care about, you can go to the written version of my journal. That's at eur.com. Thanks, and you have a super day.